So we have the camera rotating around the character. What we need to do is that we need to set up a background for the character so that we can have it looking presentable. What I'm going to do, I'm going to press the render button now to show you what it looks like once when it is rendered. As you can see, the character is rendered, but the background is black. So I want to put like a color background behind her that can, so that it will look more presentable and that there will be more contrast with her and the background. So what would be the solution to this is very simple. We're going to add a polygon, and that polygon is going to be a cylinder. So I've added a cylinder to the scene. I'm going to press F to frame in on it so that the cylinder is over here. I'm going to move the cylinder over to where she is, and I'm going to increase it in size. So I go to my scale tool, and I'm going to scale. I'm going to grab the center here and scale outward so that it scales up proportionally. So scale upwards, and I'm going to put the character inside of the cylinder here. As you can see, the camera is not including the camera, so it needs to be much larger. And extend out. So when we dolly in, we can see that the character and the camera is inside of the cylinder here. So I'm going to zoom in some more, and let's just see how it looks. Press the render button. And now we see where we have a nice color background around her. So what you want to do, I'm going to go over to the camera view that is rotating around. We're going to render her from different angles to make sure. We're going to do test renders to make sure that that everything is all right in terms of how it looks. So it looks it looks good from the side view. Let's close that. Render her from the back view. So we're doing test renders. So before you render any animation, you always want to test if your renders are up to good quality. You can see that so the back part looks good. From over here, do another test render. It looks good from the side. Alright, so we'll have the environment here. Now, we can also change the color, the background color. This is optional if you want to have a different color. So right now the cylinder is selected, and I can go into the attribute editor. And what I'm going to do, we don't want to change the color of the Lambert one shader. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a new shading material. I'm going to add a new Lambert shader. So hold on, right click, go down to assign new material and release that. So we get this little window here, and we're just going to add a new Lambert. Notice we have Lambert 4, which is a new shading material. Don't use Fong or Blend because it will have a reflective surface. We just want to have a dull surface. And I can go ahead and change the color. If I want a nice little bluish color, I'm just mixing something here. Alright, let's see how this would look if we were to render it. So she has a little blue background. It's very important that you can make the color, don't make the color too bright. Make the color light so that there's enough contrast. So I must lighten that color a bit. Press the render button. So you can see where the character stands out. Also render it from another angle. Render it from the front. Press the render button again to refresh. So you can use different colors to add appeal to it. So you can use white, which is the standard color, or you can use different colors to create an appeal to look to it. Once we're satisfied with the image, how it looks for our test render, we're going to go ahead and render our scene. Now, we can go into the render settings, this button here that has the gear on it. We're going to click on that button to get into the render settings. And we're going to set up the render settings for this scene. Now, we want to make sure that we're using the mental ray engine. And if you click this down tab here, we can see a list of the different engines that are available, but we utilize in the mental ray engine. As it relates to the file format, the file format should be set to PNG. So I'm going to click the down arrow here, and we're going to select PNG. Um, if you look here, we can see the path. The path is the location where the file will be saved. So it will be saved here in Documents, Female Walk, and you will go to the Images folder there. The name of the file, we can see that information as well. So it will be called walk assignment.003 PNG. Alright, so let's go down further. The next element that we need to change, so we'll change the file format, we're going to change the frame animation extension. Right now it is set to single frame, and because it is set to single frame, with as it relates to the frame range section, it is completely grayed out because it will only render a single frame. What we need to do is we need to change this to one of these extensions that has ext at the end, and that will free up the frame range down here. Now, something that is very important that you should know is that if you were to change it to any of these without extension, like say if I was to put it to name.ext.number, so the number would appear at the end. When you render these out, Windows will not recognize it as an image. So the Windows Photo Viewer won't be able to open it because the PNG extension is not at the end. If you were to open it in an external software like Blender, you would not be able to open it because it wouldn't recognize it as an image file format. So it's very important that you select the one that has name, extension. It could be any one of these that has extension. Just make sure that extension is at the end right here. Okay, so let's go down to the frame range. As it stands right now, we have start frame at 1, end frame at 10. Now you know that we have 400 frames to render. So we're going to set the end frame to type in a value of 400. And press enter to confirm that. We'll have the frame range. So these are the amount of frames that will be rendered. The next element that we need to check upon is the renderable cameras. Now the renderable camera that is set right now is camera 1. And we can know if this is the correct camera we're rendering from, because if we look over here, we can see that the name of the camera here is called camera 1, so this is correct. If this wasn't the correct camera, you would simply select over here and choose the correct camera, but it's set the camera 1 for my computer. Now we're going to set the resolution. The current resolution is set to HD 540, which will give me 916 with 514 width. So we're going to set that. What we want is 1280 by 720. So that would be a HD 720 and give us that correct resolution. Alright, so once all of these settings are set up, we're going to close this window, and don't worry about it being saved because it auto saves. So when we close it, the settings will be saved. Now it is time for us to render our scene. Right now we're in modeling mode, and we need to switch it over to rendering mode because we want to get the option to render up here. So we're going to switch over to rendering mode, and we're going to go to render sequence. So I'm going to hit that button now. Now you can see that sometimes it fails on the first go, so you're going to do it a second time. You're going to go to render sequence, and the scene should be rendering right now. Let us check to see if it is rendering. So we're going to go to, so I'm in documents right now. It should be within the female walk folder for my computer. I'm going to check the images folder here. Going to TMP, which stands for temporary. Going to this folder. And what you will see, you will know if it is rendering if you see the images start occupy the space here. And you can see that it is currently loading up the images within Explorer. So I'm going to just open it. So see how it looks. It's currently loading. Well, so while this is loading, we can see that the images are being rendered. So that is how you render your scene. And as you can see, we can see a preview of one of the images that is being rendered. In total 400 images will be rendered, and once they are rendered, you're going to load up Blender and compile your video.